Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashley Heibigner. I'm the Communications Director for the City and Borough of Juneau and the Public Information Officer for the 2026 Juneau Glacial Lake Outburst Flood. We hope everyone got some sleep last night, safely evacuated away from the evacuation zone. We wanted to provide a brief update this morning from our incident command and the National Weather Service as we move into the day. It is a beautiful day in Juneau. It's a great day to explore areas outside of the Mendenhall Valley and to keep everyone safe. With that, I will pass it to Nicole Farron of the National Weather Service.
Good morning, everyone. So we are seeing a slower rate of release from Suicide Basin than previously expected. The National Weather Service Forecast Office here in Juneau is working on updating that forecast this morning. And I can give you that information now that the new crest time is expected to be between 2 and 6 p.m. this afternoon. And we're looking at a slightly lower crest height at 15.8 to 16.3 feet. So still in that major flood category. And so just looking at a little bit later in the day, and here in the next hour or so, we will be getting into major flood stage of 14 feet. That's when water's hitting the HESCO barriers and when the evacuation area is at greatest risk. So we are thankful that the crest is happening during the daytime now, where we can observe it. And anyone that hadn't evacuated last night, they could evacuate during the day. They've got more time to do that now. And like Ashley said, it is a very warm, sunny day today. We do have a heat advisory in effect for 80-degree temperatures expected away from the water. So definitely bring some extra water with you when you go out for a hike today away from the evacuation area.
Thank you, Nicole. I think we're going to save questions for the end of today's briefing because it will be a quick one. Once again, for those online, please use the Q&A function to share your questions. Next up is Mariana Moreno Goodwin from Plinkett and Haida, and a safety officer on deck for our incident today.
Thank you, Ashley. Good morning, everyone. First of all, we want to just thank everyone for evacuating. And as Ashley mentioned, it's so important to continue to evacuate. We want to really emphasize to stay away from the river, stay away from the bridges, be a good neighbor. There's still potential warnings for flash floods. We do not want to have an incident within an incident. Give the space to your people, to our people, the responders and operations to do their job to help to keep everyone safe in our community.
Thank you, Mariana. Okay, now Ryan O'Shaughnessy, Emergency Programs Manager for CBJ and one of our 3 incident commanders. He's on deck right now. Will give us a situational update.
Thanks, Ashley. So in my past updates, I've started by expressing appreciation to all of our agency partners, Plinkett Haida, the Army Corps of Engineers, National Weather Service, everyone who's participating in this. But today I wanted to start by acknowledging and appreciating all the community members who are living through this, who have evacuated. I know that this is taking longer than we've seen in prior years. And I appreciate everybody's attention as we're moving through this critical situation. The risk, even though this is taking longer, the risk has not gone away. We are starting to see trees and other debris move down the river. That remains one of the highest failure modes for the HESCO system. A flash flood still could happen at any time, and we really encourage everyone to evacuate. We do have crews in the field, both monitoring the HESCO barriers and checking on the pumps. We have started to see just a very tiny bit of ponding, but generally there's no need for pumping quite yet. I also want to let folks know that we have started to get reports of some disaster tourism. That looks like people being on Brotherhood Bridge, going to Backwood Bridge, and driving through the neighborhood while there's an evacuation advisory, while there's water behind these barriers, and while your neighbors are preparing for this flood. I'd like to really encourage everyone to be a good neighbor. Please leave the evacuation area if you live there, and please don't go there if you don't live there. It's never safe to be near the river or near the HESCO barriers during these events. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. We also have Travis Eckhoff, Incident Commander for Alaska Department of Transportation and Public Facilities. Before I pass it to Travis, I just want to share that we do, behind the camera, waiting in the wings as they always are, have a representative from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Colonel Trujillo, if there's any questions about the U.S. Army Corps scope here in Juneau during the incident. We also have other representatives from our ops team and other agencies if there are questions beyond what was shared today. Do we have Travis? Okay.
Yes.
Good morning. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm calling from our drone operations room down at the EOC. First of all, I want to just thank everybody for observing the closures that we have in place.
Travis, you're muted.
Well, that's not good. Are you able to hear me now? How about now? You folks able to hear me? You guys able to hear me now?
Travis, we can hear you online. Go ahead. Sorry
All right.
about that, everyone.
Sorry about that, folks. So I just wanted to start off by thanking everyone for complying with our traffic closures and making sure to stay out of the evacuation zone if you do not need to travel in the evacuation zone. First off, Back Loop Bridge is closed and that will remain closed until the water level recedes and our engineering teams are able to inspect the bridge to ensure that it's safe for us to reopen it to traffic. The Brotherhood Bridge is closed to pedestrians, but it is open to vehicle traffic. And I just want to thank the JPD and VPSOs that are present at the Brotherhood Bridge, helping us enforce those closures. We are also ready to start our drone operations once we hit that 14-foot lake level, and every pilot is ready to stand by and do their flights. And we've also started our bridge monitoring drone flights. So there are a lot of drone operations ongoing right now. That's the only updates I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for bearing with us through those technical difficulties, and thank you so much, Travis, for joining us virtually. We do have quite a few questions in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Starting with Eric Stone for Alaska Public Media. Question for the National Weather Service. Any idea why the water is slower than predicted? Could it have anything to do with the large calving event leading up to the release? Or is there another reason?
Hi, yeah, thanks for that question. It's actually tracking relatively similar to 2024 and 2023 releases, which were about the same rate of rise. We had adjusted for what happened last year, and last year we had a lot more water from the atmospheric river. So that's one component. But we will certainly need more time to study what was different about this year compared to other years and add it into our library of data for next year.
Great. Another question for you. Can you speak to the factors of what causes a slower rate of rise? Similar question.
Yeah.
Does the hot weather versus the rain impact how quickly the basin drains into the lake?
In this case, in past years, we've seen releases on very hot days. So that part's not unusual. I would say what we saw last year was the more unusual thing. So we're kind of perhaps back to a normal, but slower than what we had originally thought.
Great, thank you. Another question from Jazz Garrett of the Juneau Independent. I think this might be a question actually for Nate Rumsey from our ops section. Residents on the river report almost all the logs they have seen being swept down the river are cut and believed to be from the construction of the berm at Bat Loop. Were these trees left in the flood zone to become debris swept downriver?
Thanks for that question. There was an effort through our partnership with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to cut down trees that were likely going to become hazards during a flood event. The thought behind it is by cutting them into mud, they would become less of a hazard either for the HESCO barriers or for bridges. And so it's likely if they were cut trees, it's due to that effort. Although there were trees cut as a part of the berm construction, the berm is at a higher elevation and likely has not been impacted, and the trees in that area would not have been impacted by floodwaters at this time.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for everyone online that let us know that you could hear Travis. Again, our apologies for that. We're coming to you from the EOC, so not our normal setup. Becky Bohr of the Associated Press. The question, I think, for our incident commander: how many people stayed at Floyd Dryden last night, and how long will the shelter remain open?
I believe that the number is 17 folks at the Floyd Dryden evacuation shelter staffed by the Red Cross last night. And that evacuation shelter will remain a resource throughout the evacuation advisory. So as long as that advisory is in place, that will be a resource for the public. If you have any questions about whether or not that shelter remains open, or how to get there, what you can bring there, what you can expect, the best thing to do is to call the Flood Information Hotline. That phone number is 907-500-0890.
Thank you, Ryan. This actually is a question, I think, for Jeremy Zivik of the Alaska SEOC. Why is there a disaster declaration and what does it do? Thank you, Jeremy. I really appreciate having folks up here to answer these questions.
So the disaster declaration activates our disaster recovery programs. We have a couple different ones. Right now, we do have a public assistance disaster declaration that's activated, and that can be used to reimburse a community for damages to critical infrastructure. It can also be used to reimburse a community and other entities for emergency protective measures that have occurred. It can also allow for certain permitting requirements to be waived during the disaster if it protects life or property. An example of this would be if there was debris in the water that was impacting the HESCO barriers. Normally, to do work in a waterway, you would need a permit. And during these emergency situations, that disaster declaration can allow people to go in there and do some of that work. What the governor's disaster declaration did not do was activate our individual assistance program. These are disaster recovery programs, so we're in a little bit of a unique situation that the damage hasn't occurred, but we understand that this is a unique situation which requires us to activate the public assistance part to have some of these funding streams in place. If we do see some type of breach, the individual assistance program may come into play.
Thank you, Jeremy. Okay, next up, I have a couple questions from Bailey Braun of Alaska News Source. I think they might both be for Ryan O'Shaughnessy, Command. I'm going to share them both together because they're related.
Great.
Sort of a speculative, how would things have been different if the crest had occurred overnight, as it has in previous years? And do we know how the response to evacuation was and how many people were believed to be evacuated?
That's so I'll start with the second question and just clarify that the evacuation advisory is still in place. It is not too late to evacuate, and the threat of a flash flood still exists, if not even to a higher degree. As mentioned in other questions, we are seeing debris move down the river, and strikes to the HESCO barriers is one of the most critical things that can create a flash flood scenario. It's not too late to evacuate, and we really encourage everyone to heed that evacuation advisory for as long as it continues. Ashley, can you restate the first question, please?
I can. How would things have been different if the crest had occurred overnight?
So our team, our unified command, is really working at all levels of government. We have tribal, local, state, and federal partners working on this, and we are truly prepared for any circumstance. Whether that needs to scale or shift in timeline, we are ready. During the daytime, obviously, we have some enhanced visibility just in the daylight, but we are prepared to maintain situational awareness through those dark hours as well, with drones, with thermal imaging, with spotlights on them, as well as tracking on all of our equipment, on our pumps. So we are very prepared to address this situation in any set of circumstances.
Thank you, Ryan. I believe that's all the questions we have online. As always, if our members of our media have any questions, please feel free to email us at jic@juneau.gov or to call the JIC phone number, which is available in the email invitation. And again, for our residents, if you have any questions at all, any concerns, please contact us. We have some fabulous folks manning the flood hotline 24 hours a day, 907-500-0890. You can also email us if you'd prefer at floodresponse@juneau.gov. We have staff manning that as well. We will let you know when the next update is planned, likely after the peak, when we have an understanding of what we're going to see this afternoon. But we will keep everyone updated at the Juneau Flood Ready webpage and on our respective social pages. Thank you so much.